I wanted to make our weekly video. I'm just kind of looking back at last week and looking forward to the next. So first, I want to start with week number 2. On week number 2, you all had a choice between the grocery lab and the recipe lab. And then you were supposed to post a discussion board about why you chose that lab and where that has come up in the real world. I wanted to comment on those discussion posts. I did not comment in the posts themselves, but I read all of them, read all the replies, and a few things. I made some notes here. So someone, and I did not write down who, but somebody did the recipe lab and said, I've been doing this all my life. I've been doubling recipes or cutting recipes in half my whole life. And I did not realize that I was doing this math. I didn't realize that I was doing proportions at the time. And I think that's a really good point. A lot of things we do in our everyday life, we don't even realize that we're using math. And that's part of the reason behind these labs. Again, I try to connect the labs to something that you actually do. And so if you are a cook, and you've been doing that pretty regularly, then you probably have been converting proportions your whole life, and you just didn't know that's what it was called. I recently doubled a birthday cake for my daughter, and I mean, it was not hard to double a cake mix. But if you wanted to, increase it by a certain proportion other than doubling or tripling, those are pretty simple. Kimba said that specifically this helped her with decreasing portion sizes, and I agree with her on that. It's very easy to double something or triple something, but if you want to cut something in half, that, particularly if you're dealing with fractions, that can be a little bit more complicated. So I thought that was a good point she made, that this helped particularly when you're decreasing ingredients. Candy said just because it had a better price does not mean it's a better deal. And that was actually Candy Wilkes. We have 2 Candies in our class. But Candy, that is so, so true. And that was one of the major points behind the grocery lab. You cannot go to the grocery store and just, look at a box of spaghetti and say, well, this one's cheaper. You have to compare the cost with the quantity. And that is a really important shopping skill. So you don't just go in blindly and pick the cheapest box of spaghetti noodles, because you may actually be paying more for a smaller amount. So that was a really good point that she made. And I think it was Harmony, Harmony, somewhere in either her comments or her post, she mentioned eyeing it for recipes. And, several people said, oh, well, we just kind of eye our recipes and throw a little more in or a little less in. I do too. But I tell you when that will not work. That will not work for baking or bread or a very specific recipe. You can't just throw a little extra flour in, a little extra sugar, and, let's just work with the eggs that we've got and your cake turn out correct. Baking is very, very precise measurements. Now, spaghetti sauce, you know what I mean? Throw in there what you've got, add a little more, take out, whatever. So something like spaghetti or macaroni and cheese, some of those recipes are kind of, you do eyeball it. But baking, no, you do not eyeball a pound cake. You do not eyeball a chocolate cream pie. Those measurements are very, very precise. So I agree with you. I eyeball it too when I'm cooking, but baking is more specific. So that was week 2, and I enjoyed your post, and I hope you were able to see where the mathematics fits into something you're already doing, whether that be cooking with recipes or grocery shopping. Both of them are food related, and we all have to eat. So that was week 2. This week, tonight actually, because I'm making this on the day that it's due, the flooring lab and the rounding decimal lab are due. Now that's going to be graded together as one lab grade. I talked about that last week, but the flooring lab is just a really good use of percentages. And if you own a home, at some point in your life, you will have to replace the flooring if you live there long enough. So that's something that can be helpful. And the rounding decimals is just something we have to get out of the way early on. So I'll grade those first of the week. Let's see. Don't forget about your calculator. Okay, so here's my calculator. Somebody sent me a remind message and said, where can we get that calculator locally? And I said Walmart. I'm actually getting ready to go to Walmart today, but usually they have this at Walmart. I will say, I just set up the test, and I'm going to talk about that more in just a second. You are going to be able to use a computer calculator for your test. Now, you're not going to be able to use a cell phone, but I did decide that you can enable a calculator on your computer. Now, I apologize if that puts you out and you've already bought the calculator and now you're frustrated, but I just decided that rather than run into problems with the test, you won't be able to use a cell phone, but you can use a calculator on your computer if that's what you're accustomed to doing. I do not do that. You see, I've got my calculator at all times, and I don't even use a cell phone calculator. I've got my cell phone, but I don't even know how to do decimals and fractions on that cell phone. Mixed numbers, improper fractions. So I never use a cell phone calculator. 4.3 you were completing last night. That is percentages. It's a really big topic in this class. We are going to continue working with that until the end of the course. And then the last thing I want to mention is the test. We have a test coming up. It's going to open on Thursday, March 26th. Thursday, March 26th. And you'll have one full week. It'll close Thursday, April 1st. And the good thing about that is April 1st is the last day of class. Our spring break starts on Friday, April 2nd. So Richmond Community College has spring break. It begins on Good Friday, April 2nd, and runs through that next week. So we're going to have a test, and it's going to be due Thursday, April 1st. Now, you have 3 options to take this test. Your first option is to take it online. It's going to be on Hawks, so it'll be something you're familiar with. You can take it online with a company called ProctorU. I'm going to discuss all this. I'll have information linked in Moodle, but I just want to kind of give you a heads up. ProctorU is an option. That's an online testing company. Your second option is to take it at the Academic Success Center. You can do that on main campus in Hamlet or in Scotland County. We have an Academic Success Center in both places. So a person would administer your test to you. And your third option is to come take it with me, which I would love for everybody to choose option 3. I know you're not, but it would be great to make a personal connection. I'll let you know about the exact times that is an option for you if you want to come take it with me. I have classes in Scotland County, and I also have a night class on main campus. So I will post all those options. But just be thinking about that. You want to go ahead and think about what you think you would be most successful at. Taking it online with an online testing company, taking it on campus at the Academic Success Center, or taking it with me. My times are not quite as abundant as what you could find at the Academic Success Center. So anyway, think about that this week. I'm going to be asking you, what you've decided, what your preference is. We've got to get that set up before too late. And then the last thing I want to mention is this week you have a chemistry lab. It's a good one. It's a good one. I doubt most of you have taken chemistry. You do not have to have taken chemistry. It is no bearing on whether or not you can successfully complete that lab. But the questions did come from chemistry examples. And then you're also going to complete a quiz on your intelligence style. Now, this is for a lab that is coming up, but I've got to go ahead and gather the information this week so I can prepare the lab based on your results. I love this. This is one of my favorite things. My students do this every semester, and they love it. You're going to take a quiz, and this week, all you have to do is take the quiz and post to the discussion board. But you're going to take a quiz about how you learn the best. So what is your intelligence type? I love it. And then I'm going to take the results after you post the discussion boards, and I will create our lab for the upcoming weeks. But this week, that's really, really important. I need every single person. If you, for whatever reason, don't do anything else this week, which I cannot imagine, that would be a 0 for Hawks. That would be a 0 for your chemistry lab. But I really need everyone to take this multiple intelligence survey and post to the discussion board, because I cannot make the lab unless I have results to use. So I hope you have a good week. If you have any questions, reach out to me, email, Moodle, Remind, and I'll be back next week.